battleground where warriors collide. Die Hard MMA podcast, we won't hide. Clint's gonna defeat, analyze each brawl from the underdogs to the champions standing tall. The fury, let your instincts rise. Feel the adrenaline rush, it's time to defy. Die Hard MMA, we're in it for the thrill. Get ready for the madness. Let's make that bankroll spill.
Happy Friday, degenerates! Welcome back to the Undefeated Post-Fight Show! That's right! Your boy Clint. It's Friday. We're headed to Canada tomorrow. I'm pumped up. No, I'm not actually going to Canada, but we collectively, all of us gamblers, MMA fans, we're all going to Canada. And I am excited. This is the week. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. This is the week we're getting off the schneid. It's about time. It's getting chilly outside. I broke out my toque for my friends up north, my beanie for the very first time for the year. That feels good, especially because I live in the land of dust and sweat. So it's nice to have the temperature drop just a little bit. Finally, the nights are chilly though. It's already headed that direction. We're like, the sun comes out and you're like, it's 97 degrees. I can still go jump in the pool if I want to. But as soon as the sun like breaks over the houses, it's like, damn, it drops like 20 degrees. And you're like, where's my jacket? That's what we're dealing with right now. It's kind of getting towards my favorite time of year. I'm a Christmas guy. You guys should know that. You should, from the personality, like I smell like a Christmas guy. You guys know this. All right. Anyway, let's get into the show, guys. This is the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show. Best show of the week. I take all the information I've got for you on UFC Edmonton. We already broke down this card forward, backward, sideways, up and down. We talked about it all on Monday, and then we did the total takedown. I actually did that first thing this morning for you guys because I was running a little behind thanks to my daughter and some Halloween shenanigans. But we've talked about everything we can possibly talk about, and I am going to watch the weigh-ins. We're going to watch the fighters face off, and we're going to just add that little sprinkle on top of what is already our absolutely delicious cup of hot cocoa. It's the marshmallows, if you will. You'd put the marshmallows and the whipped cream on top of the cup of hot chocolate. Man, now I've got a sweet tooth. Damn it. I'm going to have to go get some hot cocoa. All right, guys, let's get into it, right? First fight of the evening. We got Jamie Lynn Horth taking on Ivana Petrovic, 126 pounds for Jamie Lynn Horth, 125 for Ivana. And we've got Jamie Lynn Horth looking big. She looks jacked. She looks huge. And honestly, Ivana Petrovic looked absolutely fantastic up there. She gave a very strong flex. Unexpected. You know, somebody who looks a little string beanie and then they flex those muscles and you're like, oh, damn, you got some biceps. And of course, I can only think of Ivana Humpelot. Every time I see someone named Ivana, they've ruined me, Austin Powers. They size up extremely well, these two women. That we're already off to a raging start here on this show, you guys, because I have said forwards and backwards all week how I feel like this is just too wide of a line for Jamie Lynn Horth. Like, I understand the angle. She's big. She's strong. She's good everywhere. But Ivana seems like the more marketable quantity of these two women. It seems like they're trying to get her a leg up. And Jamie Lynn Horth, while she is solid, while she's underrated, like they quite literally brought her into the UFC to lose, to make somebody else look good. This is a IQ test. This is a litmus test for Ivana, who is the younger fighter here. She's in her prime. She's 30 years old, and they're really giving her an opportunity. They gave her the Na Liang low ball. She went ahead and scored on that one, and now she's had some time off to develop, and I really thought that the size and the physicality was going to be the biggest difference between those two. I really think that's the biggest tool for Jamie Lynn Horth, is the fact that she's going to be bigger and stronger than most of the people who she faces. But when you're dealing with a fellow grappler and somebody who's about the same size as you, this turns into a dog or pass situation real quick for me, you guys. Jamie Lynn Horth is Canadian, and we talked about how Canada just has not done well recently, right? Like, women's MMA for Canada is far better than men's MMA right now. At least it has been, generally speaking, recently. And I don't really want to start the night off fading Canada. But if you faded Canada the last time they went up there, you made bank. They went like 2-6 or something like that. And it was only the women who managed to get the wins there. I actually think Ivana might be able to submit Jamie Lynn Horth. Like I said, you run the tape and you look at the way she's diving on ankles and stuff like that. You look at the way she's rolling for knee bars. And I know those are low percentage submissions, but if she's got the ability to hang grappling wise with Jamie Lynn Horth, why can't she find her in a scramble? Why can't she get on her back and find her way on top? Like, it's definitely an angle that's there. And on top of that, it looks like this number has come down a lot. So I'm looking over at DraftKings right now. Jamie Lynn Horth by sub is down to 7-1. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. Never mind. It hasn't come down, and that makes me happy. You've got Ivana Petrovic at 11-1 by submission. I know this fight probably goes the distance, right? Jamie Lynn Horth by decision is maybe like the nuts. It's the only way this fight really goes. But if you're looking for anything besides the chalk outcome here, you know, the girl who's got 3 submission wins and will roll for knees and ankles, who's the submission specialist of the two, taking on someone who's a suspect grappler in this spot. Like, I don't know. I picked Jamie Lynn Horth on Monday, you guys. I picked her on the Monday show. I did say Jamie by decision. Like I said, I think that's probably the most reliable outcome here in this spot. But I'm absolutely going to have a sprinkle on Ivana Petrovic here by submission at 11-1. I think that number's just too good to ignore coming into this spot. And especially considering Jamie Lynn Horth went to a split with my girl, Veronica Hardy. Hey, I was all in on Veronica Hardy in that spot, right? But she was about half her size, and she still managed to lose that fight. There's ways Ivana can win this fight. This is not chalk that personally I find trustworthy. All right, guys, let's keep it moving. I spent way too long on the first fight of the night, especially for it being women's MMA. We've got Chad and Helinger, 135, taking on Cody Gibson, 135.5. Now, Chad and Helinger, no issues whatsoever. He's a little bit on the small side. You would not know this guy is even cutting weight in this weight class. Cody Gibson, on the other hand, sucked out. You can see his skull. Like, this man is absolutely massive. He's jacked, and you can tell he's doing whatever it takes for him to make weight. When they face off, Gibson's about a half head taller than Chad and Helinger, much larger frame. This dude is absolutely huge. Very respectful face-off. You love to see that. And Chad and Helinger is a guy that I just want to root for. I love Chad. I want to see him do well. He's done well for us in the past. He'll pull the upset off. But I think he falls into the my guys category. Shout out my guy Rusty, who's in the chat, keeping it real and commenting on every single one of my shows. He talked about how my guys, anytime I say my guy, my girl, it's just an absolutely terrible MMA fighter, someone you don't want to put your money on. But those seem to be the people that I want to root for and cheer for on the regular. So Chad is one of those guys, right? Chad's a guy that I want to see do well. He's a consummate underdog, but he's 37 years old, and his grappling really has been the weakness. Now, I know on Monday, my guy Brandon Olivas kind of told me that, you know, Cody Gibson probably isn't quite the grappler that I was making him out to be, and Chad probably doesn't have the weakness grappling that I was really building it up to. But guys, my read on this fight is that Chad's going to be too big. He's going to be too big. He's going to be too strong. He's got too many weapons and tools. And then when this fight does end up getting hard, when they do scramble, when it gets dragged to the ground, I trust that Cody will find his way to the back and lock up a body triangle or just be too physical. I think it's going to be a Cody Gibson win here. He's sitting around minus 200 at this point. I think that makes sense. And I think the Gibson by sub is probably something that'll find its way into my submission special here. It's plus 350 is what we're looking at right about now. And I think that makes a ton of sense. Now, he obviously can win this fight by decision, which is why I would throw it in the submission special. It's not something I'm going crazy on. But when you've got a guy like Chad who's just on the small side and he gets bullied and has tapped 6 different times to people a lot like Cody, you got to go for it, right? That's the kind of low-hanging fruit that you got to take a swing at, is what it is. All right. Hey, we got Frank Jourdain catching live for the first time. What's going on, buddy? See you all the time online, but glad to have you here in the chat live. And Muhammad, I'm Bruce Lee, says good luck this weekend. Thank you. I'm going to need it. I've needed it for a long time. Shout out to everybody in the chat. It Factor MMA, Dixon Sider. We got Sammy Davis. What's going on, everybody? Bombaclat. Yeah, that was weird. We'll talk about that in a second. That was really weird. Next fight up, Garrett Armfield, 135 pounds, takes on Siri City at 135 as well. Garrett Armfield is very sucked out. You could see this guy's cheekbones from a mile away. He looked good physically speaking, but he's another guy that, even though he's on the first side, he's a little small. He's very thick. He's very well muscled, so it's still a tough weight cut for him. Siri City, 12-pack abs. I mean, my God, you see an anime where someone like pulls the shirt up and they're like tall and skinny and they just have abs that go on forever. That's this guy. Like, seriously, it's exactly what he looks like. Very tall, very lanky, looks good, and he's got a height advantage here in this spot. Now, Garrett Armfield's not the biggest guy. We've talked about that, so it's no surprise that Siri City does have a slight height and reach advantage here in this spot. I would expect that. I think this fight's going to be a banger. We got Siri City as a minus 135 favorite. I'm not sure why this guy is favored, frankly. He's 1-1 on Dana White's contenders / UFC combo because he fought the same guy back-to-back. I like his striking. I like his counter ability. Looks like he hits decently hard, but I also think he can be had. I also think he can be figured out. I mean, Ramon went to that split decision with him in his first UFC fight, and it was a volume fest. I think if you're going to strike with a guy like Garrett Armfield, he's going to be able to put up numbers. He'll be able to hang with you on the feet and do exactly that. Now, Siri City is Canadian, so is Chad and Helinger. Like, we don't want to make a habit, I don't think, of these type of coin flip fights of just fading Canada. I've got a feeling with how poorly Canada did the last time out, I think a lot of these guys are going to come through this week, you guys. And that's just the tinfoil hat talking right there, right? They got embarrassed. Canadian MMA got embarrassed the last time they were up here. They're running it back. They're giving them good matchups once again, which they did last time, and it did not matter. They still dropped the ball. These guys are going to come through in some of these spots here, I think. Canada is probably not going to be full fade territory on Saturday. I think Garrett Armfield's probably the better fighter, but we've seen him go 2-2 in the UFC. He's got more experience. We have seen him cardio death and fade, but he also looks like he's in phenomenal shape coming into this fight. Looks like he took a lesson from that last fight, and he just looks like he's in the best shape of his life. So, relatively low-level fight. Relatively high volume fight. I think this one's going to play out closely, you guys. I could see Garrett Armfield maybe cracking City with something huge and just being a level up when it comes to like the power. So he might be able to find his way to a finish. I also could see Siri City cranking this thing up and finishing Garrett Armfield in round 3. We've literally seen that before. It could definitely happen in this kind of a spot. Again, very sketchy fight. I will pick Garrett Armfield for the sake of a pick for you guys. So you know exactly what I'm thinking. I'm going to say Garrett Armfield, but I am probably not putting my money on this fight. Next up, Rodrigo Nascimento takes on Alexander Romanov. 264 pounds for Rodrigo Nascimento, 261 for Alexander Romanov. And you're thinking, Romanov, he's not coming in at 265, but he got in shape for this one, right? But he lost some weight for this fight. He's the same big old flabby guy you've ever seen. He has not lost any weight coming into this fight. Two big old flabby boys, as to be expected. Romanov actually is slightly taller, which I was a little bit surprised by. I kind of thought that Romanov was going to be, well, I guess that's not true. Rodrigo Nascimento looked locked in, though, guys. I will tell you that. This is one of those situations where when you see, like, who won the face-off, Rodrigo won the face-off. Like, Romanov is all smiles. He's up there. I love the guy. He's a big, cuddly teddy bear. He wants to have a good time. He throws his coach across the cage when he wins every single time. It's fun. But Rodrigo Nascimento looks like he's ready to kill somebody. And that is a big difference in mentality here to me. I think Romanov has been kind of upset as far as the prospect that we thought he was coming to the UFC. He's 33 years old. He took that one effort into getting into better shape and losing some weight and coming in a better state. And he went, that ain't for me, bro. So now we've got a 33-year-old on a 2-fight losing streak that's just kind of fighting for a paycheck at this point. He's just another heavyweight guy at the UFC level. He's not going to make a title run. He's not going to take a belt. He's just going to hang out here and fight. Like, that's what he's going to be. And because of that, I kind of want to put my money on the guy who's coming in here to kill somebody. Rodrigo Nascimento is 2 years younger. He does have a reach advantage. And yes, he has been knocked out twice, but he's actually a very strong grappler. We've seen he's got cardio. We've seen he can go a hard 15 minutes. Like, I don't know that Romanov is going to want to hang with this guy on the feet. Romanov is very, very front-loaded to getting this fight done in round one, as we all well know. And if he doesn't get the fight done in round one, I think he's going to be in trouble the deeper this thing goes. I mean, Rodrigo Nascimento won a split decision over Ilir Latifi. If you're looking for a guy who can wrestle, Ilir Latifi can wrestle his ass off. That's what he does. That's all he does. So if he's able to actually win a fight, whether it was close or not, against a guy like that, that kind of gives me some faith that he'll be able to hang in there against a guy like Romanov, especially if Romanov starts getting tired in the second and third rounds. I could see a late finish here. It's probably round one for Romanov if he's going to get it done, and then it's round two or round three for Rodrigo Nascimento as this fight gets extended. I like the ever so slight dog here at heavyweight in Rodrigo Nascimento. And actually, I wouldn't mind a look at the submission props, just because he's got the ability to go for, chokes and things like that. He got Dontel Mays in a round two rear naked choke a couple of years ago. So, let's not forget that this guy is actually very talented when it comes to his grappling, and tired people tap. That's the new tagline here for the show ever since our girl Jocelyn Edwards got it done for us. I think we're going to look at those submission props here for Rodrigo Nascimento. And if you look at the stupid parlays that we probably should never bet, but do anyway. Rodrigo Nascimento sub round 2, 14-1. Rodrigo Nascimento sub round 3, 25-1. So not quite as juicy as I would like those numbers to be, but the sub at just plus 500, yeah, that'll make the cut, right? That one's going to go in the submission special, right? You best believe it. John asking, where is Derek? Yeah, we'll get there. We'll talk about that one here in a minute. Jack Shore takes on Youssef Zalal. 145.5 for Shore, 145 on the dot for Zalal. Jack Shore, soft body. Yeah, right? Soft body. We know that. He's one of these guys that just never looks impressive. He's not going to be shredded. He's not going to have abs. He just is what he is at this point. Zalal, though, very relaxed, excellent shape. He looks like he is shredded. Very good condition. No issues whatsoever. This was a very good face-off. And honestly, you guys, another surprise here for me. Youssef Zalal is big. He's bigger than Jack Shore, and it's much more significant than I was expecting. I really thought these guys would size up relatively well. The more I look at the career of Jack Shore, I really feel like he's kind of one of these in-betweener guys that can't quite do either weight class, and he's only 29 years old. I love his grappling ability. I don't think the Joanderson Brito fight is something that can be recreated by Youssef Zalal. I think this is going to be an extremely grappling heavy type of fight, but he got out grappled by Ricky Simon. That's not really a knock on you, but I believe that was the fight that sent him up to 145. You're supposed to be the size bully at 135, and you got taken out by Ricky Simon, a guy that did exactly what you thought you were going to do. And now you're taking on bigger, stronger, more physical guys. He did finish Makwan Marikani. We all knew that was coming a mile away. Makwan doesn't have the gas to really do much beyond that. But he is losing a striking encounter with Joanderson Brito. Now he's getting Youssef Zalal. I think this line is wide, you guys. I really do. But I do think Zalal is the rightful favorite. I know some people are going out there on a limb for Zalal via submission, and frankly, I'm all Zalal 2.0. I really like him in general. I've been a fan of his, period, and especially since he's come back to the UFC. We're 2-0, trying to win money on Youssef Zalal since he's kind of revived his career over here. I think this kid is jumping levels, and I think he's doing so rapidly. I guess he's been training with David Onama for this fight, which that guy's an athletic freak. So if you're ever going to worry about, cardio, wrestling ability, scramble ability, taking on somebody who's more physical than you, getting pushed around, that's the guy you want to train with. So if he's been doing his whole camp with that dude and he's riding high, he's on a four fight finish streak. And then it would be an even longer one. He had one decision mixed in there between him. Actually, that was a boxing fight. So he is on a 6-fight finish streak right now. He could not be more at the peak of his powers at 28 years old, coming into his prime. I love me some Youssef Zalal. I don't like the minus 135 price tag. I'm sorry, minus 325. I don't like the minus 325 price tag. I feel like that's a little disrespectful of Jack Shore. I feel like this fight is probably going to play out a little bit closely, but I also could see Youssef Zalal just continuing to do what he does, especially with that height and reach advantage, you guys. That's one of those things that the physicality side of things, I'm always drawn to somebody who's got the height and reach advantage. When they've got that extra size, when they've got that extra power, that extra muscle, that extra strength, it matters in a fight. It really does. And so Jack Shore is going to be dealing with a guy who's a grappler just like him, who's probably a better striker than him. He's going to be dealing with a grappler who's just like him, who scrambles maybe a little bit better than he does, who's also a little bigger. So it's Zalal, right? That's a real long way of me saying it's Youssef Zalal. It was always Youssef Zalal. I want to say Youssef Zalal by decision is still where I really think the money is. Minus 135. It reminds me of the Bashrop Bro last week where it's like, man, minus 175 for a decision prop. That feels just icky all over the place. But I think that's what it is this week. I don't know that Jack Shore is going to be the guy that continues Youssef Zalal's finish streak. I know his last two losses, the only two losses in his career, were both by finish. I need to run back that Ricky Simon fight. I want to look at that finishing sequence because Youssef Zalal is more of like a slick back taker and less of like a grind you into dust and arm triangle you type like Ricky Simon is. So I'm not sure if he can recreate that same type of submission victory, but obviously if he gets his back, it's always live for Zalal to be able to choke somebody out. So we're going to pick Zalal. We're going to say Zalal by decision, but Zalal by sub at plus 700. I can understand why people are taking the shot on it. I really can. Next fight on the docket here, we got Victor Henry and Charles Jourdain, 135 for both of these fighters here. Victor Henry, the Weird Al of MMA. No issues for him up there, but he's got a head full of hair on him. I'm jealous. We've got Charles Jourdain, who looks absolutely my God, this guy's dropping a weight class. That was something that I missed going into my Monday night breakdown, you guys, is that Charles Jourdain is actually dropping a weight class for this fight. And you know what? I think that's a big deal. These guys face off, and he's massive. He's absolutely massive. Now, Charles Jourdain has always been kind of a regular-sized guy. I've never really been overly impressed one way or the other with how big and or how small he is, except for when he fought the biggest man in the division. He looked like an absolute midget up there against Sean Woodson. He looked tiny when he fought Sean Woodson. But everybody looks tiny fighting Sean Woodson, right? And he felt the power of a guy like Gene Silva and was like, nope, we're done with that. So he's dropping down to 135 after fighting basically his entire career at 145 pounds. And I think it's a smart move. He's huge. He's absolutely huge. Now, I have to walk this back a little bit, you guys. I've been doing the Link Memorial Dog of the Week thing, to go through the year, honor my boy Linky, try to catch a dog every now and again. First off, dogs have been really hard to come by, and when they do come through, it's not the ones I'm ever expecting. I can't hit water if I fell out of a boat when it comes to catching these underdogs recently. It's just not a thing I'm doing in 2024. Can't find my nose in front of my face. I picked Victor Henry as my dog of the week, and I've only done this once before. I have to do it again, you guys. I have to do it again. I'm sorry, Linky. My bad pick. I'm taking it back. I'm absolutely taking it back. Victor Henry, 37 years old. He looks like he's in fine enough shape. Don't get me wrong. I like the guy. But he is now taking on a fighter who's much younger than him, in his prime, somebody who's 28 years old, somebody with vicious power, submission skills on the upside, and is twice his size. I mean, this is a huge size difference between these guys. Now, I know Victor Henry just TKO'd Hany Barcelos, and that's absolutely fantastic, right? It shows the ability that this guy's got. He's never been finished. That's something that you need to be well aware of. This guy is very hard to put away unless you're Javid Basharat and you're kicking him in the ding-ding. He is not going to go down. He went to a split decision with a guy like Tony Gravely, but again, he lost his UFC debut to cooked Rafael Assunção. So I'm not exactly sure where to rate Victor Henry on the UFC scale of things. And Hany Barcelos looks like he's basically shot at this point in time, unfortunately. Sad times. I think this is a fight where the UFC really is trying to get Jourdain back on track. He's dropping a weight class. His body looks like it took it well. He looks like he's in incredible shape. And like I said, last time out, Canada shit the bed. All of us are going to be going, fade Canada. All of us are going to be looking to get on the other side of Canada. And I know a lot of people that were picking Victor Henry this week as well. And it's funny, I made the pick, obviously, before I saw, other people making the pick. That's why I do my show on Mondays, is so I don't have any of the noise in my ears of other people's selections or anything like that. But as the week has kind of dragged on, I'm just going, why would the UFC want to make this fight? Why would Charles Jourdain be dropping a weight class and they give him a guy like Victor Henry? They're not pushing Victor Henry. He's 37 years old. Like, he's a fun fighter, don't get me wrong. And that's what Charles Jourdain is. You want Charles Jourdain in fun fights. But coming off 2 losses, this is a kid that's a star. This is a kid that is pushing numbers in his backyard. They want this kid for Canada. They're giving him Victor Henry because they think he can beat him. So I'm completely flipping on this one. And I know I have said that when I flip-flop, when I'm insecure about a pick like that, that more often than not, I am not going to put my money on it, because that flip-flop, that insecurity on a play, it just ends up costing me. I'm never on the right side whenever I flip-flop. So I probably should keep my my hands in my pocket for this one. But, oh, Chris, thank you very much. Henry didn't KO Hani Barcelos. He KO'd Ronnie Yaya. Thank you. You're absolutely correct on that. I apologize. But yeah, I'm flipping on this one, you guys. It's Canada season. We're going up to the frozen north. I'm going to take the big kid in his prime against the aging, withered veteran in Victor Henry. I'm flipping sides. We're going Charles Jourdain. We no longer have Victor Henry as dog of the week. And if you guys did listen to me on Monday and you've noticed, I haven't posted a bet showing the dog of the week is Victor Henry. This is why. Like, the doubt started creeping into my mind as soon as I called him as the dog of the week. I called of the guard, right? Like, we saw so many elder fighters, old veterans getting taken out by young bucks. Frankly, guys, we're seeing that 2.0 right now. In 2024, towards the end of the season here, we have a lot of old, aging, withered veteran fighters that are just getting ousted. Absolutely getting ousted by these young bucks who are really coming into their prime and taking their spots. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I'm paying attention. We are not going to lose money on a lot of these old withered veterans, because I do think we're going to just see more of that in the coming months as they continue to make these matchups. All right, you guys, real quickly, thank you all for being here on the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show. We've already got about 600 of you live. Do me a favor, share the show out if you haven't already. Hit the like button for me if you can. Subscribe to the home of Fight. And if that wasn't enough, if you guys don't know, we do have a premium selection, you guys. We've got cappers who are tracked, who have excellent records, that are up 90 units collectively over the year 2024 right here at Home of Fight. There is a link to Winnable down below. It's a lot like Dub Club. If you guys have ever heard of that, you'll get the picks sent directly there to you. But I have a promo code for you. 5 free days using that premium service. Canada. Spell it out. CANADA. Promo code Canada will get you 5 days free using our premium subscription service. Go ahead and check out the picks for this week, UFC Edmonton, and make sure you click that link down below. Also, make sure you're using Bet Openly, you guys. They just broke record-breaking numbers on Bet Openly. Couldn't be more excited for us on the team here, because we are saving gamblers money left and right using peer-to-peer gambling. They saved over $500,000 in 1 month. We are chugging through $8,300,000 in saved money because of the reduced juice with peer-to-peer betting. It's an amazing tool. You're never going to get limited on there. My guy Maddie, if you have seen Maddie on social media, he's got multi-$1,000 bets up every other weekend on there for people to take as much action of as they want to. Because it's peer-to-peer, there's nobody looking at it and going, yeah, you can't bet that much. You can bet as much as you want as long as somebody takes the other end of the action. So just give it a shot. Check it out. All right, let's get back to the show. We've got Ariane De Silva taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. We got 125 pounds for both of these women. Ariane, very intense on the scales. No real her. She looked very locked in. Jasmine, not a problem at all. She's in great shape, very relaxed up there. And I'm a little frustrated on this one, you guys, because once again, my mental picture of this fight was Jazz just being massive, right? Jasmine Jasudavicius, that's her whole thing. She's big, she's massive, she's physical, she's strong. Ariane's bigger than her. Ariane's taller than her. And Lipski, formerly known as Lipski, has incredible first-level takedown defense. I believe she's up above the 70% mark. I don't have my stats up in front of me right now, but that's really kind of always been her calling card, is that she's got above 70% takedown defense and really knows what she's doing on the feet. Her striking is incredible, and when she can defend the takedowns and keep herself up on the feet, there's a lot of people that she's a real handful for. Now, I've criticized the chin of Ariane in the past a lot. She does not like getting hit. She does not like taking damage. She just doesn't react well to it at all. And I also think her mental state is something that we can question a little bit right now. I know she's a young fighter who's very attractive. The UFC's going to want to get behind her. The Queen of Violence nickname is a fun one, but she really has kind of edged off on that Queen of Violence thing. That's not really been what she's done recently. She got TKO'd by Priscilla Cachoeira not too long ago. Now, she did sub Casey O'Neill. Her grappling is something you really have to watch out for. But if you can get on top of her and get her on the ground, that's really the angle I think you want to take with Jasmine Jasudavicius here. But at minus 230, I was hoping Jazz had much more of a physicality advantage here in this spot. I do worry about her being able to double leg someone like Ariane Lipski with the takedown defense that we've seen from her, with the size advantage that she has. I'm not entirely sure she's stronger than Jazz, because that's really Jasmine's calling card, is that she's such a physical beast in there. I can see Jasmine kind of clubbing her to the ground, though. You know, you throw that overhand right and then look for a double leg. I can see one of those two things landing and then getting the fight down to the ground that way. So I don't mind the look of like a Jasmine TKO. Frankly, guys, I like the round 2, round 3 TKOs for Jasmine Jasudavicius. Now, I know the numbers are better on FanDuel. I don't have those up in front of me, but round 2 is 20-1. Round 3 is 35-1. I will have sprinkles on those, because if you look back at the fight, what Jasmine did to Priscilla. I know Priscilla can't grapple, right? That's a big part of that, is that Priscilla just can't grapple. But she is able to just keep going. And when she gets on top of you, it's like pounding a heavy bag with elbows. Like, this girl just does not stop. It's constant violence from the top position. And apparently Jazz has even come out and said after this fight, she wants to steal the name from Lipski. She wants to take the Queen of Violence moniker. And that's just music to my ears. Like, I want to hear that when you're looking to bet on somebody to win by KO, TKO, or something like that. So I think we sprinkle the late round TKO props for Jasmine Jasudavicius. It's another one where the most likely outcome is a decision, right? We're probably going to see this fight play out relatively closely. Ariane has a striking advantage. That's something that we cannot overlook. Jasmine has a grappling advantage. That's something we cannot overlook. But when these two tie up, it's going to be curious who's going to win that takedown battle. If Jasmine is strong enough and she's improved enough with her different attacks, getting the fight to the mat, I think this will be easy mode for her. That minus 200, minus 230, that's going to look like a minus 600 in hindsight if she's able to get Ariane down to the ground. But if she can't, all of a sudden it's the other way around, right? That plus 190 looks like the best bet on the board if this fight is standing for 15 minutes. So it's a very, very tough fight to call. I am picking Jasmine. I am picking Jasmine Jasudavicius. I do think she's the right side. I like those late round TKO sprinkles. That's going to be something we just get, just a little bit of cash on, fading the chin of Ariane de Silva in the backyard of Jazz. And I think she becomes the new Queen of Violence on Saturday. But Lipski has spoiled the party for me several times in the past. So I don't think I'm going to be parlaying up Jasmine. I kind of want to watch this fight play out in real time and then maybe think about like a live entry or something like that on it. That's probably the way to go, because if you can see Lipski starting to break, starting to give up those takedowns, starting to let it go, that you can jump in. You can jump in at that point, as opposed to parlaying it early and then Lipski just, whoops Jazz's ass on the feet because she can't get her to the ground for 15 minutes. So that's probably the plan. I'm going to pick Jazz, but I'm going to hold off, and we'll maybe just sprinkle some props. Pedro Munoz takes on Aiemann Zahabi. 135 pounds for Munoz, 135 and a half for Zahabi. We've got Munoz, classic Pedro, solid flex. I mean, this guy's older, but like he never looks like he ages a day. Aiemann Zahabi, skinny, but he looked okay. Not really a problem for him whatsoever. Zahabi is taller, but he's thin, and then Pedro is shorter, but he's tankier. It's exactly the kind of trade-off you would expect in this kind of a spot. It was an intense face-off like it always is with Pedro, but it was very respectful between the two of them. Zahabi is the backyard Canada boy here, and Pedro Munoz has fallen on rough times, man. He's 38 years old, and it really sucks because he competes in every single one of his fights, and it's really a bummer because you even look back at like the Aldo fight, the Dominic Cruz fight, the Marlon Vera fight. Like, he rocks every single person that gets in that octagon with him. There's one moment, I've actually lost a lot of money live betting Pedro Munoz recently, because there's a moment where it looks like he's turning the tide. They slip up, they make a mistake, they get into range, and he cracks them with a big one. And you're like, whoo, Pedro's turning back the clock. Here we go. This is it. And then that's the end of it because they go back to fighting on the outside and he can't quite chase them down. And then it's a close decision and then he loses. Like that's how it is every single one of his fights. So I have a real hard time in this spot because my soul screams that I want to back Pedro Munoz. I am just not sold on Aiemann Zahabi. I know he beat Javid Basharat in that last fight, and that really should be enough to tell me that maybe he's legit. You know, when I swore that Aoriqileng could not be knocked out, and then he came out and sparked him in the first round, that should be enough to sell me that this guy's legit. The 4-fight win streak should be enough to sell me that this guy's legit, but for some reason, I just don't believe it. I don't believe that, you know, Canada version of Ariel Helwani is really all that great. And I don't know what's keeping me off of it. You know, I've told you guys time and time again, I have a problem because I don't believe people are special. And I can see it with my O-Tune eyes, and I can still find the problems, and I can still find the faults, and I can still poke holes in the story. And for some reason, that's what's happening here. It's like the Jets this past week, last night, the Jets, they were favored over the Houston Texans. Everyone and their mom was just piling in hand over fist money on the Texans because how could they possibly lose to the 2-6 freaking Jets? The Jets mopped the floor with them. That was a bookie trap if we've ever seen one, and everybody fell for it. That's kind of what this feels like to me. How do you have 4-fight win streak just dethroning a Basharat bro, Aiemann Zahabi, as a -145 favorite over 1-4-1 Pedro Munoz? How does that make sense, right? Pedro's been fighting the elite of the elite. Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo, Marlon Vera, Kyler Phillips, Sean O'Malley. Like, he won round 1 against Sean O'Malley, and I won't hear a word to the contrary. The one time he gets a step down in competition and faces Chris Gutierrez, guess what? Pedro wins that fight. And that's what this feels like to me. Is like, okay, so if you're a title challenger, if you're elite, if you're in the inner circle, you get by Pedro Munoz. That's what this test is here for Aiemann Zahabi. I don't think he is. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's fighting for a title. You're not going to knock out Pedro Munoz. You don't got the power to do that. You got to stick to a game plan for 15 straight minutes and destroy this guy dominantly enough to get a decision. Now, he did that against a Bash Bro, which, again, I cannot overstate how impressive that is at this stage. But he did a lot of it with, like, heavy damage. I remember landing big shots that really stole wow moments there. You don't want to trade like that with Pedro Munoz. You know, Javid Basharat, both the Basharat bros, frankly, they have no power. They're decision machines. They're good wrestlers. They like to play on the outside. They like to pick and poke. They're decision machines. If they can submit you or hit you with a big knee or something like that, rock you, club and sub, that's how those guys will finish. TKO maybe, where the ref just has to pull them off. They're not one-hitter quitter guys. If you get in there and go power for power with Pedro Munoz, you might be in for a short night. So I've spent a long time on this fight, you guys, and I do apologize because, like always, I'm simply going to give you my thoughts. And this is a fight that I obviously am struggling with. I cannot for the life of me land on a side here. I think I want to pick Pedro Munoz. I doubt I'm going to bet it. We'll see. Maybe he suckers me in live yet again. But I think I'm actually going to flip on this one also. I picked Zahabi on Monday. And the more I've settled in with it, the more I think I'm going to pick Pedro Munoz. Not betting it, not putting money on it. And that's, you know, we're avoiding the old dog type situation. But frankly, this would be one of those spots where the old dog wouldn't be losing his seat to a young dog, right? Because he's not fighting a young dog. 38-year-old Pedro Munoz is taking on, what, 36-year-old Aiemann Zahabi? Yeah, 36. So he turns 37 in 2 weeks. So it's basically 37 versus 38. They're the same age. So I think we're going to go with back class here. I'll say Pedro Munoz, believe it or not. Wow. Didn't expect those words to come out of my mouth. You know, I do the Michael Scott thing when I do these shows sometimes, you guys. I just start talking and I don't know where the sentence is going to go. And you get my true real reactions that way. And that's kind of what happened here, just talking through this fight. All right. Trevin Giles takes on Mike Malott, 170. For Giles, 170.5 for Malott. No problem on the scale for either one of these guys. Trevin Giles gave his patented one-arm flex. And you've got Mike Malott with looking solid, looking absolutely solid. You know, this guy having death gassed in his last fight, being embarrassed in front of Canada on the big stage last time out. He looks like he put the work in. He looks like he put the work in. Malott has a size advantage on this one, decent size advantage. This was a very good stare down, and then he turned out to the crowd and he started screaming at the crowd. Like, he is becoming a bit more of a showman in this spot. And this is absolutely a low ball get right fight spot for Mike Malott. I talked about it on Monday, where this is the Robelis to Spain treatment for Mike Malott. They're going, hey, Trevin Giles is a guy that you have to be able to beat. You must beat Trevin Giles. Frankly, you guys, I think this is an inside the distance spot. Mike Malott inside the distance is minus 120. I like Mike Malott by sub. You got to kind of pick your poison here on this one. KO is plus 240. Sub is plus 225. Decision is plus 275. They're not giving you a deal anywhere on the props here from Mike Malott. He could play it safe and just grind his way to a decision, make sure he gets back on track. But personally, I think he's going to find a way to finish. We have just seen Trevin Giles in shambles recently. It doesn't matter how good he's doing in a fight. It doesn't matter how good he looks. He finds a way to lose. His chin is gone. You can submit this guy. I mean, we just see it over and over and over again. Like, this guy is absolutely in there to be had. But frankly, the thing that gets me going is that this is a rematch. If you guys didn't know, Trevin Giles actually fought Mike Malott previously, but it was not in MMA. It was in Fury grappling. These guys have had a grappling fight together. Now, my co-host on Monday, Brandon from Fight Ready, was very complimentary of the grappling of Mike Malott, and he did win that grappling contest when they had that earlier on, but it was a one-round only grappling contest, and it was a spot where it went to a decision. He didn't submit him. He didn't finish him, nothing like that. So I think he's already got the script. And that's really the reason for the tinfoil hat here. I believe that he's already got the script. The UFC said, not only are we going to give you a low ball, but you beat this guy already. Like, that's how hard they are going to get Mike Malott back on course here, is he knows he's bigger than Trevin Giles. He knows he's stronger than Trevin Giles. He knows he can take Trevin Giles down and do whatever he wants to on the mat. So why would he stand with him? Like, yes, there's the threat that, oh, maybe you can get caught on the feet by a good boxer like Trevin Giles, but the UFC is going, bro, you already beat him. So I really think we're going to see a grappling showcase here from Mike Malott. If he wants to strike with Trevin, he can. Trevin's got no chin at this point. But frankly, Malott is a submission grappler first. I think we see a club and sub, even if he does hurt him. That plus 225 submission, I like it. It's going to go in the submission special. Absolutely going to be a leg in the sub special for me this week, which I think we might be hitting this week. And then the inside the distance at minus 120 on Mike Malott, I think is the move. If you want to parlay him up, if you want to go money line, I can absolutely understand. I talked about it on Monday that I don't really want to do that, because how could I after what we saw in the last fight? But frankly, this is pretty much a massive step down in competition for him. And I've lost several times recently on these, hey, get right type of spots where the UFC is going, hey, buddy, just, get back on track here on this one. That keeps not working out for me for God knows what reason. I think it's going to work out this time. Like, I think this is the one where Mike Malott finally gets back on track. So I'm going to say it's Mike Malott. I'm going to say it's Mike Malott inside the distance. I'm going to say it's Mike Malott sub. Let's go. Next up, you have got Marc-Andre Barriault. He's taking on Dustin Stoltzfus, 185 for Stoltzfus. No, 185.5 for Stoltzfus, 185 on the dot for Marc-Andre Barriault. Barriault looks stoic up there, guys. Strong, built well, looked good. And Dustin Stoltzfus, eyes sunk in, off balance, looked like he had a real rough weight cut, you guys. They size up pretty well. Mark is slightly larger, and that's concerning when you're talking about a grappler. This was a good, fun-natured style face-off. These guys don't appear to have any type of ill will. They're both good sports. But, guys, the big issue for me here is I think Dustin is dead. I think Dustin's dead man walking here. Yeah. So he got his face broken in his last fight, and apparently couldn't feel it for a long time after. They gave him the "you're a medical marvel" with how quickly you recovered, that whole thing. And they're turning him around and they're shipping him to Canada, and they're giving him Marc-Andre Barriault, a guy who is known for breaking people's faces with cardio and pressure. I think Marc-Andre Barriault is going to break his face because this guy doesn't slow down. This guy doesn't stop. He's got decent enough takedown defense, but he also will make you work for literally everything. If you shoot for a takedown, he's going to make you work for it. If you get him down, he's going to get up. He's going to make you work in every single position possible, and then he just cooks you. Round 2, Round 3, he's going to keep on pushing until you've got nothing left to give. And I think we've seen that be exactly the thing that cooks Dustin Stoltzfus multiple times. You know, he was huffing and puffing after just trying to take down Bruno Ferreira in round 1 that last fight. He didn't even make it out of round 1 in that one. Now, Bruno's obviously a physical specimen, but you go back, when I was super high on the guy and bet him against Adolfo Vieira and Gerald Mearshart, he was able to take them down and control them. But guess what happened in round 3? In both those fights, he completely fell apart and caved in round 3. This guy does not have the cardio to push the right kind of pace and game plan at the UFC level for a full 15 minutes. He's 32 years old. He's a throwaway fighter as far as they're concerned. He's alternating wins and losses. And every single loss he has, except for when he fought Kyle Dawkins, which is hysterical back in 2020, they're all finishes. Like, this guy gets finished every time he loses. I am pretty sure that this is a Marc-Andre Barriault round 2, round 3 TKO kind of spot. Now, maybe it's a sub. You know, we've seen him get submitted before, but that's to like high-level black belts. So I don't think he's going to get submitted by a guy like Marc-Andre, but I do think he will turtle up in a ball and just kind of wish for the referee to pull him off. And the bookies know what's up. Round 2, round 3, Marc-Andre round 2 KO is plus 700. Marc-Andre TKO round 3 is plus 1,000. And don't listen to Bo. Don't listen to Bo. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I know he's barking. You guys can hear him. You know, dog going off here for Dustin. It ain't happening, you guys. This dog doesn't have any idea what he's doing picking MMA. He's young. He's ambitious. Give him time. He'll get with the program. Zelda, though, if you could quit, though, so I could finish the show, I would very much appreciate it. Oh, man. All right. Mohammed saying, Clint, do me a favor and pick Dustin. I want to cash my Mark bet. Mohammed, I understand. I totally get the trepidation here. I get it. I have been the mush of the year, not even mush of the week, really. So I get it. But, you know, eventually it's gonna swing my way, you guys. And I got a feeling it swings my way in a big way here on Saturday. I like this card. Next up, you've got Caio Machado, and he is taking on Brenson Ribeiro, 205 for both these guys. Caio Machado, I like this guy. I like this guy. Big old smile on his face. 1 second. Sorry about that. I like Machado. He's got a big smile. He flexes well. And honestly, he just looks like a completely different human being. You know, at heavyweight, this guy was big. He was flabby. He looks like he's fighting at 135 pounds now. Like, he is so skinny. He's absolutely shredded, man. I like how he looks. The weight cut was the best decision he ever made. Brenson Ribeiro, another guy who's very, very cut up. He's been that way since he got to the UFC, though. Very intense, this guy, pounding his chest up there. Like, he knows this is a loser goes home type of matchup. But the one thing that's just the, the Yugi reverse Uno trap card here is Caio Machado apparently is Canadian, you guys. This giant Brazilian monster of a man just got his paperwork done. He's officially a Canadian citizen just in time for UFC Edmonton. So if you want to put your tinfoil cap on the way I like to time and time again, he is the Canadian in this Brazil versus Brazil matchup. Now, I'm not going to put too much faith into that. But frankly, you guys, Caio Machado has been very, very tough. He's been very, very durable. He knows how to win a 15-minute fight, whereas his opponent is a life and death, round 1, banger bust type of fighter. I'll take the guy who knows how to win over 15 minutes. I'll take the guy who knows how to pace himself. I'll take the guy who knows what to do in an extended fight. And frankly, Brenson Ribeiro has proven time and time again he doesn't know how to do that. I'll also take the guy who's used to fighting 265-pound men for his entire career. He's cutting down now, and he's going to be the larger man for the first time maybe ever, and he's going to be fighting a guy who's very small, even at 205. Well, not very small, but it's not like he's a muscle monster, right? He's kind of skinny and lithe, and that's the kind of guy that you can have a physical advantage over. I think Caio Machado is just going to be the more physically imposing of the two, and when Brenson does make his big explosive movements, I think Caio's going to make him pay. I know Caio's a decision machine, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if Caio actually finds a way to finish Brenson Ribeiro here. And, just looking at it, just shaping it up here, I know he's got 4 wins by knockout and 2 by sub, but we've said it before, guys. What do tired people do? They tap. I could see this Brazilian man getting a big submission win here in this fight. Now, Brenson Ribeiro has been submitted twice in his MMA career. Those both came a long time ago when he was, much earlier, much younger in his career. He lost a decision to the semi-fraudulent Magomed Gadzia Sulov. So he was able to survive in those grappling exchanges there. And he's been TKO'd by basically everybody else. But that's, the UFC calling card, or not the UFC calling card, the heavyweight calling card is to just get in there, let your hands go and bang it out until somebody falls over. If you're going to pull that move, sure, okay. Like, don't get me wrong, Caio could knock him out here, but he's always been a decision guy. He's not really a guy that's going to KO a bunch of people at this level, in my opinion. Could he hurt him and then get him on the ground and then get him tired and then grab a neck? That, I think, is maybe a little bit more likely. And Caio by sub is 8-1. It's another juicy submission prop where I think if we get Barriault fading in round 2 and round 3, Caio can probably lock up a neck. I don't hate it. I like Caio. He is minus 160 right about now. I think he is the right size, the right side. And I don't know how much you want to really dive in on this one. It's not something that you should be playing hugely because it's low-level heavyweights. So, frankly, Barriault could just crack this guy with the first hook and that's it. It's over. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I think Caio will end up pushing a pace and wearing out Brinson Barriault over the course of the fight. All right, next up, the one you guys have all been waiting to talk about. Jonathan Diniz takes on Derek the Black Beast Lewis. Diniz came in at 257 pounds, Lewis 266, tipping that heavyweight limit there. Jonathan Diniz is a big old thick boy. He gave that one arm flex up there. You love to see it. Doesn't look like he's in any better shape than we've ever seen him, though, which is, maybe a little concerning. Derek Lewis, though, very classic soft Derek Lewis. There have been a couple of times I've told you guys, if Derek Lewis has abs, you're in for a night. Like when Derek Lewis takes himself seriously, when he puts in a full camp, when he trains and he does a whole lot in there, this man is dangerous. It doesn't look like he did that. It looks like very much regular old Derek Lewis up there on the scales today. And I'm not overly impressed. On top of that, he no-showed the ceremonials. What the hell is that? I don't even know what to make of that. Derek Lewis straight up going, you know what? Nah, for the ceremonials. They said on the stage, this man is still in the fight. He is not canceling, but he's just not showing up. No face-off. I don't know what to make of that. That's so confusing to me. Derek Lewis is a fan favorite. Derek Lewis is a guy that wants to get up there and pound his chest. He wants to get his hands on his opponent. He wants to look him in the eyeballs and make him afraid, big black man in Canada. Like, that's what he does. I don't know why he didn't show up for this. And all the reasons I can think of are bad. Like botched weight cut, trouble rehydrating, car accident. You know what I mean? I can't think of a good reason why Derek wouldn't want to be there. The only other reason I can think of that he wouldn't be there is fuck off. Like, no time to deal with this shit. And that screams cash and a paycheck, if that's the case. Justin Vlaos in the chat is saying family emergency from what I understand. But why wouldn't you still not cancel it? And that's a great point. If it is, in fact, a family emergency, obviously we well wish for Derek's family. We hope everybody's okay. But if it's an emergency, how are you going to fight? I don't know. An emotion, I've talked about it before on this show with you guys. Emotion affects different people very differently. Some people, it's wind in their sails. Other people, it's crippling. Other people can't go out there. Francis Ngannou went out there with his son on his back and absolutely destroyed the man in front of him in his fight. But we've seen people collapse under the weight of emotion and lose. So another thing with this being a family emergency is how is Derek going to respond to that if that is, in fact, the way this goes? I want to bet Derek Lewis, you guys. Like, it's just screaming in me. You guys know I've done the y'all must have forgot with Derek Lewis many times. Many times I've pulled that move. And I want to do that here. He's a plus 145 underdog. And Jonathan Diniz is a guy that has not overly impressed me at the UFC level to this point. We've seen him get very competitively kickboxed by a grappler and Carl Williams. Like, Williams had moments. Austin Lane cracked this guy multiple times on the feet. We see on like Twitter and Instagram, people do the whole head movement thing with like boxing, and everyone's always like, oh, you'll never see this kind of head movement in MMA. And then someone retweets it and they're like, there's a reason for that, little bro. And they post like someone getting head kicked into the cemetery and stuff like that. Like, it's a different sport. And if Carl is doing things that work in kickboxing, or not Carl, if Jonathan is doing things that work in kickboxing that don't necessarily work out well in MMA, there's openings. And Derek Lewis is a guy that can do it all. He can throw head kicks when he wants to. he can take people down sometimes. I know people said I was crazy for thinking Derek Lewis might shoot a takedown in this fight. But frankly, guys, he's done it before. And we saw just how much of a pumpkin Jourdain Diniz was from his back in this fight previously. I kind of like Derek Lewis here. Earlier in the week, I again talked about how this is a bit of a softball spot, right? Like this is a spot where Diniz is the undefeated star who they want to come in here and take off and get a big notable win on his record. And he's got the history with Alex Pereira, and it's a whole thing. Derek Lewis is the king of upsetting the apple cart in exactly those types of situations. This man bites down on the mouthpiece and swings for the fences. He carries his power late. If you don't fight the perfect game plan against him, you're in trouble. I want to say Derek wins this fight. And look at the line move. Diniz was like a minus 200 favorite on Monday. Some serious love has come in here on Derek Lewis. And I don't think that's the kind of line move that comes from the public, where it's a fan favorite. That's the kind of line move that comes from somebody with deep pockets putting their money in on Derek Lewis. I'm a fan, you guys. I want to see the Black Beast get a win. I picked Jourdain Diniz on Monday. I guess I'll pick him again just because he's got, the lifetime of experience in kickboxing, and that should be enough to get him by Derek Lewis. But Lewis really is the type of guy that can end that experience with one shot. If he connects and you're willing to trade punches, Lewis ain't the guy you want to be trading punches with. So I will go ahead and say Derek Lewis upsets the apple cart here on this one. Oh, my God. Yeah. All right. Fuck it. Derek Lewis. We're doing it. Derek Lewis. We're going to say Derek Lewis wins. Flying knee, baby. Do it again, big boy. One more time for me. I'm probably not betting it, just so you know. All right, guys. Co-main event. Erin Blanchfield takes on Rose Namajunas. 125.5 for Blanchfield. 125 on the dot for Rose Namajunas. One arm flex and a big smile from Erin Blanchfield. Classic Rose, no problem. She does that thing up there where she's muttering, I'm the best to herself and stuff like that. Stone cold killer, just trying to keep her mental state in order. And that's always kind of been the battle and the situation here with Rose Namajunas, is that she struggles with the mental side of things, and she kind of always had. That's really been the big issue for her. She's been a little up and down. She's lost to some of the best in the world, but I kind of feel like she's twilighting. And even though she's the taller fighter here, she's taller, she's longer. We have seen the grappling be a path to victory for people against Rose. And I bet on Tracy Cortez. I think I need to run it back here on Blanchfield, guys. Like, my whole angle with backing Tracy is that she was going to be too physical and she would have the cardio to drag Rose down to the ground, and that didn't work out. Rose was able to keep the distance and move around the cage, and she was able to put a full 25-minute game plan together. The UFC saw that, and they went, sweet, now let's go ahead and put our next prospect up against her in there with Erin Blanchfield. So 12-2, Erin Blanchfield, who is 25 years old and just on the precipice of being an absolute star. She got her shot against Manon Fiorot and was out of her depth in that spot. She's taken some time, and now the UFC is giving her a legend in Rose. This is that second crack. This is that second chance. Prove yourself. Show you are what we think you are, and frankly, changing of the guard, you guys. I do think Rose is starting to kind of crack a little bit. She's chipping away at the seams here. She was able to get the win in a close fight the last time out, even though she did, I don't want to say dominated. That's not the right word, but she won that fight. I think Erin is going to be the one who wins this fight. And I talked about this before. We saw my girl Jillian Robertson in a grappling matchup take Rose down, take her back, and choke her out. Erin Blanchfield is not the same type of smooth jiu-jitsu back taker that Rose is, but she is a brute force bully and will get on top of you and will find an arm triangle. And frankly, if you give your back up, she'll take it. So I actually think there's some upside here for the submission prop on Erin Blanchfield. I think the decision is probably the most likely outcome for these two, just because Rose is extremely hard to put away. But I can't help but take a little dart throw on the young fighter pulling off the upset, or not the upset, she's the favorite, but doing it in a big way. You know what I mean? Submitting Rose would be a massive feather in the cap of Erin Blanchfield. And I do think she's fully capable. So I'll take the young buck here on this one. I will say we have one more changing of the guard here in Canada, and Blanchfield will get back on track. Main event time. We've got over 800 live viewers. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Go ahead and hit the like button for me, please, if you haven't already. Brandon Moreno takes on Amir Albazi. This one gets super interesting. Moreno 125.5. matched by Albazi, 125.5. There's no belt on the line, so they don't need to get all the way down to 125 on the dot. No issues for Moreno. Classic smirk, looking very comfortable up there, looking good. Amir Albazi's jacked, you guys. He's in incredible shape. He was having big, heaving, deep breaths up there, big blinks, sensitivity to the light. This was a rough weight cut for Amir Albazi. You can tell by the amount of muscle on his frame that he's going to have a hard time sucking down to get to this weight class here. Now, they faced off a little earlier in the week. They did that kind of aesthetic, outdoorsy type of photo shoot opportunity, and Amir Albazi looked like he was decently larger than Brandon Moreno. However, when you shave these guys down and you strip them down to their chonies, they absolutely are not what you thought they were. Brandon Moreno does have a slight size advantage in this spot. You know, the UFC stats have Brandon Moreno as being slightly larger, but then when that photo came out with Amir Albazi being a little bit taller, everyone was like, oh shit. But like, I don't know if it was the shoes. I don't know if he was standing on a little dirt pile, like maybe he had a rock under his right foot and that made him look like he was a little taller, but that's not the case. Brandon Moreno is the slightly larger human in this spot. And I like him. I like him here, you guys. This is a level spot to me. I know Amir Albazi has everybody hyped up. He's 17-1. He did come off of that split decision win against Kai Kara France. But it's interesting because Brandon Moreno has more experience. Brandon Moreno is larger. Brandon Moreno is also younger. You guys, he's 30 years old, whereas Amir Albazi is 31. So Brandon Moreno's been there. He's done that, and he's motivated to come back and do it again after taking a little bit of time off and getting his head right, which frankly, I think is something these fighters need to do sometimes. You know, when you climb the mountain and you have a couple bad things go your way, he's got back-to-back split decision losses, which that's got to take a toll, you know, on you, men speaking, but he's fighting the absolute best in the world for that to happen back-to-back on him. Take a little time off, man. Go on vacation. Go to Hawaii for a bit. Enjoy yourself. And that's what he did. And he came back and he's talking about how he's fallen back in love with the sport. And it's not, you know, red flag here to me. The guy's 30 years old. No, he's got years of fighting in front of him. He hasn't shown any durability, chinks in the armor, or anything like that. And frankly, you guys, ever since I posted this bet, I couldn't feel better about it because we have had a run where I'm posting bets and everybody and their mother wants to like agree with me that I've made just an amazing selection, stuff like that. And it's tough. It's tough because then they lose, right? I'm on the public underdog side of things and it loses. Well, I jumped in here on Brandon Moreno and everybody and their mother cannot wait to tell me how bad of a pick that is. The world here is on Amir Albazi, and I am so happy to not be with them in that. I will take Brandon Moreno, the younger, larger fighter who's a champion caliber fighter who's literally had gold wrapped around his waist before versus the guy who didn't even really get by his last test. He was gifted a win over Kai Kara France and has not faced anybody of this caliber beyond that. I think Brandon Moreno is going to be able to outstrike Amir Albazi. I think Brandon Moreno is going to have better cardio than Amir Albazi. And when they get on the ground, I believe Brandon Moreno can out-scramble Amir Albazi. I believe he can take the back if he needs to. He can go full Aljamain Sterling and he can ride out top time and win minutes from those positions if he needs to. And in rounds 3, 4, and 5, that's where Amir Albazi struggles. We've seen Brandon Moreno thrive in those rounds before. And frankly, I'm kind of excited to maybe sprinkle on Brandon Moreno 3, 4, and 5 again. I talked to you guys about how that was one of the biggest scores of my life when he submitted Davison Figueiredo in round 3. I called the upset on that one. I had the 3, 4, and 5 sprinkles. I had the sub bet. I had the Moreno money line. He was like a plus 250 underdog that night. So it's not quite the same situation with him being a favorite, but the sub props in those late rounds are ridiculous. Moreno sub 3 is 40-1, 45-1 for round 4, and 50-1 for round 5. I need to look on FanDuel and see what those numbers look like over there because they might be even bigger. But this one's probably going to decision just because at this weight class, everybody at the high level, they all can go 25 hard minutes and they all end up in close fights. That's just the weight class that we're dealing with. So it's probably Moreno by decision in all likelihood, but I wouldn't be surprised with him finishing somebody like Amir Albazi. This is a man who has finished Davison Figueiredo not once, but twice, you guys. Davison Figueiredo is the god of war. This guy's only got 2 finished losses in his entire career. He's got 3 losses total. Brandon Moreno handed all of those to him. He submitted him. He TKO'd him. Brandon Moreno's the guy that did that. And now he's up a weight class raising hell against people that are much, much larger than him. If anyone can finish Amir Albazi, especially if he gets tired later in the fight, it's Brandon Moreno. And if it's a situation where he hurts him on the feet, I think Amir will shoot trying to save himself and probably get caught with a neck or something like that. I like the sub. I like the sub more than I like the KO in this spot just because of the way these two guys match up. But again, probably a decision. I'm on Brandon Moreno. That's the only bet that I've made so far, you guys. So if you are looking for me to mush everything for you, I'll get my card out here tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. I'll post up everything for my finalized card for this weekend. I need a win desperately, and I need Brandon Moreno to take me there. Over the course of this week, I think some clarity has hit me with some of these fights. I like a couple of other spots like we talked about. I think Cody Gibson is somebody that I've got to find a way to play. Rodrigo Nascimento is probably a guy that I've got to find a way to play. Before, I was thinking maybe I would avoid Youssef Zalal because he is extremely public and you're absolutely buying him high right now. But frankly, I don't care. That's the kind of spot that I've shied away from recently, and it hasn't mattered. It's cost me because when I avoid those obvious spots, I end up just not having money on them, and they go exactly the way you would think they would. So I could win money. Instead, I lose profit. I don't lose money because I didn't actually lose a bet. But you know what I'm saying? Like, a penny saved is a penny earned, and if I'm not putting a bet that's winning out there, then I don't get the cash from it. So I'm probably going to find a way onto Youssef Zalal in some way, shape, or form. Charles Jourdain. I'm going to end up betting the big, giant kid who's cutting down in a weight class. I don't know if I'm betting Munoz. I don't think I'm betting Munoz. Mike Malott, though, I'm probably betting. Marc-Andre Barriault, I'm probably betting. Kyle Machado, I may end up betting. I'm not sure. Derek Lewis, maybe. Blanchfield, probably. So I've got a lot of spots that I like here on this one. Justin Vlad saying, how big did you bet Vikings -5 on Sunday? Frankly, Justin, I have not bet them this week. So a lot of people are willing to go to war with their favorite teams. I am not. If I'm betting on my team, I've got to be like 1,000% certain that I am on the right side because I cannot emotionally hedge. I can't bet against my team and then feel good about it if I win money. I can't bet on my team because if they lose and I'm wrong, the double pain ruins my day. So I have to be 1,000% certain if I'm betting on the Vikings before the end of the week. I do like them to win this game, but the -5 is absolutely not something that I'm interested in. The defense has been giving up some stuff, and Joe Flacco at quarterback absolutely gives them an advantage and an opportunity to ball out. So I can't lay -5, but I do think the Vikings win. Let's see here. All right. That will do it. Thank you guys very much for tuning in this weekend. Appreciate and love all of you. Do me a favor and hit the like button on your way out if you could. Don't forget to hit the links in the description below. Check out Bet Openly so that you can save money when you're gambling. Make sure you're checking out those premium plays. Promo code Canada, 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 for 5 days free of our premium service. Check out what the boys are betting on and use that to help you out this weekend. Love you guys. We're getting into spooky season. We're past spooky season. We're getting into Christmas time. It's my favorite. I'm going to start wearing my Santa hat. Love you guys. Have a great day. Win money tomorrow. Let's roll.